Hello and welcome to another video. This video is going to be a reading vlog, which is really exciting. I want to do more reading vlogs in the future. I have a November TBR list that I want to get to, and it is the end of November, and guess what? I haven't finished any of those books that I set out to read. I did start one. I started People We Meet on Vacation. I got 88 pages into it, and then I haven't picked up the book since. I'm very surprised actually. I took this book to my Hawaii trip and I actually picked it up and was reading it, right? Which I don't do on the daily basis, but I did on vacation, which is nice. I think just the fact that I was really interested in reading this book during my vacation, I was like, oh my gosh. So I did that. Anyways, I started reading this book again yesterday and now I'm on page 150. No, I took off my bookmark. I think I'm on page 152. So yesterday I read about 64 pages of this book, and the challenge for this video is going to be finishing my TBR list, which is just 3 books. It's just 3 books in 5 days. Have I done that before? Have I read 3 books in 5 days? No. Am I going to try? Yeah, of course. It's also, again, the last week of November. I have some time off work, which is only going to add to the time that I can read, and I'm really hoping to finish these books because I want to plan my December TBR list and actually start it on the 1st of December and not finish through the books, because on my October TBR list I finished those books, but I finished them in the beginning of November, and then it made me a couple days late into starting these books. So I don't want to do that. I just want to finish. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to finish this. I have some Liquid Courage, which is a mini Alani, because I love these things. I wish they had more flavors in the minis. I don't know if they do, but in my Target they just give the cherry slush. They don't give them, but they just provide the, well, you know what I mean. You can only buy the cherry slush minis or the peach ones, and I like those flavors, but I wish they had the other flavors as well. Now, I really wanted to open this and be very aesthetic, but I have long nails and I didn't think this through. So I'm gonna go get a spoon. I brought a tiny spoon. I have my mini Alani. I'm gonna open it. That's really good. Okay. I've read other Emily Henry books before, and I really enjoyed Beach Read and A Funny Story, so I thought this was going to be a hit, but it's not. So in this book we have 2 main characters. We have Poppy and Alex. The story is in the perspective of Poppy, and they're basically best friends who have known each other for like over a decade, and every summer or so they take a vacation together and they spend time together. They met in college, and one of them has more feelings, like romantic feelings, towards the other one. I know sometimes it's hard to talk about how you feel, so I understand how complicated it is to talk about how you feel, especially to another person, because then you have that fear of being rejected or losing that friendship. So it makes sense. Like, it's not a trope that's very unrealistic. Like, I'm sure it happens a lot and it's very sad, right? I feel like within this book, all you want to do when you're reading it is just like, okay, like, come on, get some courage and tell them, you know. And typically, because it isn't a book, you just assume that the other person is going to feel the same way. Maybe that's what makes it more frustrated when you're reading, because you know it's going to end up good either ways. At least that's how it is for me. But these friends, there was an issue during one of their summer vacations and we don't know what it is, and it led them to drift apart for 2 years, right? So then as you read this book, you go along their trips, right, and you get to see how their relationship develops, and you get to learn about these two characters who are very different from each other. The reason as to why they stopped talking, I was like, that's it, really? That's why? But again, that's just me. But anyways, this book was a 2.5 stars. And then I have 2 other books with me and I'm going to start it today. I feel a little like wild, like I don't think I've ever read this much, right? I typically don't. So I'm excited to pick up the next book. I think at first I was leaning towards Old Enough because it's shorter than the next book. And I feel like I'm just hoping that it'll be very fast-paced. But since I'm in the mood to read, and I don't think I've read a dystopian book before, I thought it'd be fun to get into this because it is day 2 of this challenge. So I don't know if I didn't make it clear in the beginning when I introduced this challenge for myself, but the challenge is to finish these 3 books in 5 days, and I started yesterday. So I had initially read 88 pages of this book earlier on in the month, but yesterday I read up to page 152, something like that, and I read 64 pages yesterday. Now today I finished this book, and let me make the calculations. I don't know how many pages there are. Okay, so I read 209 pages today, which is crazy. I don't typically do that. But again, so I still have some time left. It's like 4 p.m. right now. So I feel like at some point I can get some pages in for this book. I don't even want to look how long that is because I don't want to assume that I can't finish it. I'm really finishing this book today really boosted up my confidence and being able to complete this challenge. So we're gonna stick with the positive energy and start the grace year. I've been pretty productive today. I did some laundry. I took Lilo out on a walk. My kitchen is popping over there. I don't know why. And yeah, I got some errands done. I'm just waiting for Jessie to come home from work. So I still have time to read. And that's what we're going to do, huh, Lilo? She just got spayed, and I've gotten my other dog spayed before, and her incision looked fine, but her incision looked a little different. So I had to take her back and just check in with them and be like, hey, is this okay? Is this normal? Because she seems fine. She's typical Lilo, you know? And I've even just pressed the surrounding area, and she's not in pain, she's normal, she's eating, but I was just worried because I don't want nothing to happen to my baby. So she's okay, everything's good with that. I'm gonna stop stalling and I'm going to start this book. It's the same day. I know, I have a lot of updates today. But hear me out. I just started the grace year and I'm 14 pages into it, and I think it's going to be a 5-star read. I know it's early on, but I'm already into the whole world. It's giving The Handmaid's Tale, and I ate that up. I mean, it's scary, but it's such a good show. And things like that really intrigue me. I feel like I could really fall into the world. I think it's harder for me to fall into the world of just rom-coms or romance books, anything. So I don't know why I keep trying to go to romance books when I don't think it's for me. I really don't. I think this is the kind of stuff I'm into. So I'm gonna continue reading the book. I just felt really good about it. And I'll give you a better update on it tomorrow because I am going to read more tonight. But I just wanted to say I'm really happy about starting this book, and I'm really excited, and I feel that it may be a 5-star. I was reading The Grace Year. I love it. I love it. I love it. I don't know too much about what's going on. I've never read the synopsis of it. I think I read a quote that came from The Handmaid's Tale, and then it's very similar to The Handmaid's Tale, like the way the story is going, you know? But I don't know if this is right, but now that I'm remembering, one of the reasons why I got this book is because it was apparently similar to The Hunger Games, which I might be wrong. But I think that's this book, and if anything, that makes me more excited. I've never read the Hunger Game books before, but I love the movies. I've rewatched them. I love the movies. I want to read the books, but I feel like I already watched the movies. I'm sure the books are different. Maybe in the future I'll read the books. I do want to read the new one that's gonna come out though, but that's a whole other thing. So I'm really loving this book so far. I don't have anything else to say. Maybe when I'm a little further in the book, I can explain a little bit more as to why I like this book. Maybe talk a little bit more about what's going on. I just like the fact that I started the book knowing nothing, you know? Like, I just knew that it was dystopian, and apparently that it was similar to The Hunger Games, but I don't know if that's true yet. And that's it. So I just had high expectations because of the reviews, but I didn't know what was going to be happening in this book. And I feel like most of the time when you go into a book blindly, that's like, and you really like it, that's great. Like, that's one of the best feelings. You know what I mean? And I don't want to ruin that, so I don't want to explain too much of the book, but just know that I'm enjoying it. It's day 4 of my challenge, and it's the end of the day, and I am determined to finish the grace year. I have 100 more pages to go, which I'm going to finish tonight, meaning that I only have 1 full day to finish my next book, which I'm a little worried about because I don't completely have the full day. I have a long drive, and then I need to set up to have a little Friendsgiving, so I don't have a lot of time for that. But if I can read this book in basically a sitting, I'm sure I could read the next one because it's significantly shorter. Going back to the grace year, I love this book. Unless something truly horrible happens towards the end, and I don't mean in the way of like the plot, I just mean if like for some reason the writing is different, for some reason, I don't know what, I do believe this might be a 5-star read. It's made me gasp. It's given me chills. I'm reading it, I'm just like, oh my god, like I'm devastated. And I haven't felt these big emotions for any book. I think the last time I felt this way was reading The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. That book made me sob. I think that was one of the, I mean, I've sobbed before. No, I haven't. I think that was the first time I've ever sobbed reading a book. And I sobbed. Like, I couldn't even continue reading. Yeah. This is good. This is going to be my last update for this reading vlog. It is a couple days after, so I already passed my 5-day mark, like that I wanted to complete this challenge. I did finish the grace year that night and I loved it. I did give it 5 stars. I think if you've never read a dystopian books, or if you're into dystopian books, this will probably be your cup of tea. I love the character in this book. I really truly do. I think it all ties in together, which is nice. I looked up, and I don't think there's a sequel yet for this one, and I don't think it needs a sequel, so it's nice like to just have a story and have it all completed. If there is, like, I'm not opposed to a sequel of it, right? Like, I'd still like to read the second book. I'm looking into the author and reading more books from them. And yeah, I wanted to give a little more of a description on the book, But I think if you go into this thinking that it's similar to the Hunger Games and the Handmaid's Tale, as I had previously mentioned, like that's a good idea to have, but it's not too similar. Like it's obviously its own story, but I do want to add that it's very similar to also the Salem witch trials. If you've heard of that or know about that, there's that aspect of it in here as well. So I'll just leave it at that. But it's such a great read. Like I can see myself rereading this book, and I don't really reread a lot, but I love it. Okay, now going to my final and third book of this reading vlog was Old Enough. So as you saw, well, maybe you didn't, but I did start reading this book on that 5th final day, but I didn't finish it. I got really busy and I wasn't able to finish this book. So far so good. It's definitely a different vibe than the other 2 books that I read. I think most of the time when I'm like on a reading streak, I don't like to read similar books all at once. So I'm really happy that all 3 books were very different. This is definitely giving college vibes. I think right like in that first page I just remembered like my college days, and I'm like, yeah, that's typically how it is, right? Which is pretty cool. So it's nice to sort of have that little reminder. It's very inclusive, it's LGBTQ friendly, and I think if you haven't really read books like that before, I mean, I'm not quite sure if I'd recommend this one because I haven't finished it yet, but I like the way that they include characters, right? And I feel like it's not too serious. It's in a way that I feel like that's how it would happen in college, right? Which is nice. So I'm gonna finish reading this book. I promise. I don't like leaving books unfinished. If I do DNF this book later on, you'll know, I promise. I am going to be doing an end of the year like reading wrap up, just talking about all the books that I read this year and my final thoughts on them. So I'm really excited about that, but I really wanted to just end this reading vlog telling you that I failed. But that's okay. I'll have more challenges to come and hopefully I'll be successful. But I do have other things going on in my life and I can't just focus on reading. But I think this reading vlog was very successful because typically I don't even finish 2 books in a week. So that's a win for me. So with that being said, I appreciate you watching this video. If you have any book recommendations, link them. Wow. If you have any book recommendations, you can comment them down below. And that's all for me. I'll see you next time.